WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Are you ready?
Now live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
You are
listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Oh, good morning. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Yeah. Show is brought to you by amazing, excellent bourbon, steaks, and bacon, including Long Branch, a bone-in ribeye, and the bacon appetizer, Kessler Prime. In the Renaissance, visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. It's in the Renaissance. I should take Blake there soon.
Absolutely.
I haven't been in a while, so
It has been a long time.
yeah, I've been busy, so
What you been doing?
I don't know. To think about it. Take a walk after the show. I'll figure that out. We're streaming live on thezone1059.com. We want you to listen on the dial or stream it. Also, thank you for going and hitting Apple Podcast and Spotify and searching Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Appreciate that. We thank Michael Alford, Florida State AD, for dropping by and talking about the future of the ACC. I didn't realize they had done deals with Alabama and Georgia in the next decade to play home and home. I do get why he wanted to always have Clemson and Miami on his schedule, because he needs the juice, and they need the juice as far as those 4 million plus eyeball games that he mentioned, that Clemson and Florida State are 51% of those in the ACC. And he knows when they come to Doak Walker, he's got a chance to bring in a good crowd, right? I mean, those are the big three draws for Florida State are the Florida Gators, the Clemson Tigers, and the Miami Hurricanes. Now, when that Alabama and Georgia series kicks in, that will be too, because if FSU doesn't fill it up, then the fan bases I'm referencing will, as y'all know. But yeah, Michael Alford started his career at Mississippi State as a baseball player, ended up at UAB, and that was fun. We should have had him on before. He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. He does not want to see Florida go away. Did you notice what Chris Doering said earlier in the week? I mean, they are passionate about. See, it's different here. We're in the same conference. This game will never go away. But there, you don't ever know what's going to happen in the landscape of college football going forward with some of these non-conference rivalries. South Carolina, Clemson, Florida State. Chris Doering was an All-American at Florida, wide receiver under Steve Spurrier, and spent a decade in the NFL. And just me throwing that out, I think he got upset this week.
He did. He bristled.
I mean, that game has a lot of juice. Now, when I was growing up, it was probably the best. Yeah, it was the best game in college football in the 90s. Now, in the 80s, it was Osborne really couldn't compete with Switzer. I think it was the most hyped game. I guess it would be Ohio State, Michigan, even though that was boring. But in the 90s, it was Spurrier Bowden. We had never seen anything like it. And they were so much cooler and more fun to watch than what had been shoved down our throat with Ohio State and Michigan. Well, and even Oklahoma and Nebraska. And by then, Switzer had been rung up on NCAA. Well, he was at Blake's team. He was at the Dallas Cowboys there for a couple years by the mid-90s. Somebody had to take Jimmy Johnson's place. Florida State was the biggest game in town. They tried to make Florida, Tennessee big, but they could never beat Spurrier. If Bobby Bowden's not at Florida State, there's a question as to what else Steve Spurrier could have done. Oh. Because Florida State got after it in recruiting. Spurrier wasn't interested. And yet he was so good. I mean, Bowden, hey, give Bowden credit. He was good with moms and dads and would get on the road and recruit. Spurrier was just so damn good, X's and O's, and with the fun and gun. And then they would collide, Blake, the last game of the season. Mm-hmm. And it was must-see TV. We're spoiled now. We get every game on TV. You would think they'll keep that game.
But Texas and A&M split their game.
That's right.
So I never say never in college football. Never say
and
never.
Oklahoma and Nebraska don't play every year.
It would be much
Once
more.
Nebraska decide to go to the Big Ten.
It'd be much more devastating for Florida State than Florida.
Yes, it would. I mean, Scott Strickland's holding the cards there because
Correct.
he can say now his fan base. I don't know how I don't know how that works, but as Scott Strickland looks at the landscape of college football, does he look at that and go, I recognize how important the game is between not everybody because it's so transient in Florida, but Gator and Seminole fans. However, if we go to 9, does he look at it from a different perspective?
Yeah, and all of a sudden I'm playing Alabama and A&M and LSU and Georgia. And
I mean, Florida hasn't even been able to win in a weak East.
Yeah.
And I mean a weak East.
Yeah.
They took advantage of Mark Richt never being able to get over the hump, and Urban Meyer won 2 titles. And we know Florida's like always within. I mean, look at Dan. Dan, people say, well, Dan wasn't successful at Florida. That's lazy. You must not have really watched what they did his first couple of years. But that's lazy. So they're always within striking distance, Blake, if they have their act together, because they're the wealthiest school in the SEC until Texas officially comes in.
But there's a little bit of an LSU factor.
Sorry,
here.
A&M, Florida. But you know where I'm going.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an LSU factor here because if McElwain and Muschamp can both make the SEC championship game out of the East, then like anyone can at Florida, right? That's kind of the theory.
And, of course, Dan made an SEC championship game, played Alabama within a possession, but he also beat Georgia that year, and that was early in his tenure. So if Napier can just get anything going, it's a monster. There's a reason why Bear Bryant said whatever year, in 1970 or 74, whatever, he said, if the sleeping giant down in Gainesville ever awakes, then it'll be a different deal in college football. And it did when they went to Duke and hired their alum and Heisman Trophy winner, Steve Spurrier, in 1990, and the rest is history. I mean, we were a boring 3 yards in a cloud of dust, tired conference. 2 people changed it, in my opinion. I'm sure there's some others, but Steve Spurrier and Rick Pitino. So, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by Eye Care Professionals. Dr. Kirk Jeffries, Eye Care Professionals. If you need cataract surgery, Eye Care Professionals, Dr. Kirk Jeffries. Blake, we're going to have Mason Irby, who played at Southern Miss.
That's right.
Under Scott Berry. He'll be live in studio at 8:30. If you want to watch that, go to our YouTube channel, search Out of Bounds Sports. Then we're going to have the numbers nerd, Dave Bartu at 9:30. So I'm excited about our next 2 guests. Really appreciate Michael Alford coming in. He played baseball under Ron Polk at Mississippi State before transferring to UAB. He is the athletic director at FSU. Next time I'll talk Leonard Hamilton and Stan Jones. I love what they've done to that program the last 20 years. And Stan's a good dude, and he's been a friend, and he's helped us out along the way. We used to eat dinner together when he was an assistant coach at Mississippi State. We would hit Old Venice and sit in the bar, and we both had our favorite pasta dishes. And we would just, nerd out on college basketball because that guy's an encyclopedia. I mean, he's from the Memphis area, which Memphis has loved hoops forever. And now, he's gone to Florida State. And they've been to I think they went to the Final Four. I think they've hit all of them. Final Four, Elite Eight, and Sweet 16, or 2 of the 3. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. BankPlus. It's more than a name. It's a promise. They'll take care of you and your family. BankPlus Studio. BankPlus. It's more than a name. It's a promise. Mason Irby, former Southern Miss. I guess you're always a Southern Miss Golden Eagle, but former Southern Miss player. He'll join us live in studio. You can watch it on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. While you're there, we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. Show is powered by Superior Foundation. For all your foundation repairs, Superior. transfer portal is nuts, but I think it's even more so for basketball. And I know football's not far behind, but hoops just sounds crazy. So many of these guys are getting overpaid, but yeah, I guess the market will settle in the next couple of years. Will it? Or will you always have that team that will bid it up? Like, that's my question. Will you always have a program that's desperate, a coach that has to win, or an AD/coach that has to win, a collective that is driven by, super aggressive people compared to a collective that is smart and, a little bit more, not methodical, but efficient and just a smart approach? I don't know. I just feel like you'll always have programs reaching and overpaying. I mean, I've heard some of the numbers on the players in the offseason. The overwhelming majority of these guys aren't worth it. Now, I'm all for NIL, by the way. I mean, I'm all for I think it's kind of like the NFL. I mean, there's just, it's a 53-man roster. It comes down to, six difference makers on your team, right? And then there's just plug-and-play guys that you want to do what they need to do, right? Contributors show up, stay out of trouble, compete, be smart. I know it's corny, lunch pail type guys. That's my NBA. I see the same thing. Can you find a way to get on the roster, do something really, really well, specialized, and hang around and do everything you're supposed to do, not go out and get hammered and not miss different things, and train your body year round and have the right diet and mentality. MLB too. I think most businesses, I would think, right?
If the NFL can spend hundreds of millions of dollars and still overpay players at bad positions or who have bad histories, then college definitely can out of the transfer portal.
That's a good point.
For sure.
I don't know what guardrails we'll see, but we'll see what unfolds here the next 1 year to 3 years. I'm not sure. We're going to have Mason Irby on live in the BankPlus Studio coming up at 8:30. You can watch it on YouTube, our channel, Out of Bounds Sports. Thank you for going to Apple Podcast and Spotify and searching Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds and going back and hitting the podcast. Steve Robertson on MSU baseball, Jake Thompson on Ole Miss football, and we hit something else with him.
You talked about him being from Destin.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He spent like 10 years down there.
Yeah.
Evidently, I'm going to have to take him to Harbor Docks.
That would be a fun place to spend your high school era, I think. I think you could have fun there.
Now, it was a rough around the edges place for, even though we all, look, just because we started roaming down there in 84, 85 as Holiday Isles, starting to 86, 87, dude, it was still all fried food, airbrush, tank tops.
Hey, that's in high school. That sounds great to me.
No, I thought it was great. I mean, when you got to Fort Walton Beach and you could feel it and smell it and the salt water in the air and all that. I'm with you. I thought Harbor Docks was the Ritz-Carlton, and I thought Jetty East and Inlet Reef and all those places were the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
And then, I guess Sandestin said, hold my beer, and then 30A and so on and so forth. But growing up in Destin, no doubt. Now, like, my daughter had a pledge sister who went to Seaside High School.
That's what
now, that's a
that.
different deal than going to Destin or Fort Walton Beach High School.
For sure.
That's some rough. I'm sure they have wonderful people and rough characters there, right? That's a totally different ball. I don't even know if they have a private school or an academy to compete again. The whole deal is that they make each other better, usually. So yeah, but growing up on the beach would be awesome.
I think I could do that. Yeah.
The girl that is in my daughter's sorority said, I asked her, at the tailgate last year. I said, well, what was that like? And I told you what she said. She said it was great, except in June and July when y'all came down there. In other words, she was meeting all the people who flocked down there starting this week.
Of course.
And stay through whatever that is, August 5th. And then it gets, I know it's now way more year round, but it does, you're talking about
it thins out.
At least 70% less.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, it was unbelievable when we took our guys trip last year in October. No, that was the year before we did October. Last year we did week 0, Blake. It was the crappy games.
That's right.
All my buddies were betting on them. So hold on. Yes, it was packed. Like this was August 27th.
Mm-hmm.
But also the year before when we went on October, it was packed.
Yeah. No, I think that it's
a different deal.
Exactly. It's not what it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Or
it's
30.
Yeah, it's a
town.
whole new ball game down there. And if you're a company down there, you're going, please come all year round. We need to make money.
Oh no, it's changed. And now that people can work remote, there are people down there making if they find the right deal, right, then they can make a fortune and kind of fly in somewhere else if they need to, occasionally. But you're seeing that. You're going to see more of it.
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah, absolutely.
Out of Bounds brought to you by Rick's Pro Truck RPT in Gluckstadt, Rick's Pro Truck RPT in Flowood, and RPT Commercial in Pearl, right there by the airport, right across from Muskelly Furniture. ricksprotruck.com, bumper to bumper for your truck, SUV, or Jeep. Our Jeep looks awesome. Rick's Pro Truck nailed it there. Also, the Out of Bounds show is brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Blake, what's the temperature?
Oh, gosh.
For the PGA.
Let me find out. It was, what did we say? It was 24 yesterday or 34?
No, you said 34.
34. Yeah,
up in New York for the PGA Championship. And you called Phil Mickelson a villain.
Well, he looks like one.
I don't know what to do with that.
Well, the start got delayed because of cold weather, so I know that much.
Wow.
Today, because today's round 1, obviously, on Thursday.
Yeah.
It's in Rochester, New York.
I think I haven't been there, but I think that was White Plains, New York, where I was. Okay, go ahead.
It was 30 at, okay, let's see. They were supposed to start at 7:35 Eastern. But now it's been pushed back an hour and 50 minutes because the temperature was 32 degrees this morning.
32 degrees for the PGA Championship in New York in May.
It's
Doesn't that sound awesome to play golf in?
No, that sounds awesome to do nothing in. It's 15 degrees below average for Rochester at this time of year.
Okay.
And it's only 2 degrees above their record low of 30 in the month of May. So they're having like record low temperatures right now in New York, and it just happened to line up with the PGA Championship.
Well, Wendy's not going to Rochester.
Oh.
I told you I got a call right at the end of grad school.
To go up north,
Yeah. And I kind of saw my life flash in front of me, and I was like, Wendy's not going to go.
Yeah. I'd be making a lot of changes.
Yeah. It worked out. The Out of Bounds show is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. How about tonight? Go to the Drago's Bar, order a Stella Artois, and order a dozen or 2 dozen char-broiled oysters from Drago's right there on the property of the Hilton Jackson on County Line Road. Our leaderboard update, which we don't have one because of the freeze in New York, is powered by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. I'm cool if a live player wins this weekend. Ooh. Mason Irby played for Scott Berry. He'll join us live in studio coming up next. You can watch on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, Out of Bounds Sports.
Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the BankPlus Studio.
Check it out.
All right. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, driven by your next John Deere tractor at any of the Ag Up equipment dealerships in the state of Mississippi. And there's over 20 of them. AgUp.com, John Deere, America's tractor. Ag Up equipment dealership in Canton, and also Ag Up equipment dealership in Pearl. Want to say good morning, welcome in. You can watch the show right now on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're streaming live on thezone1059.com, and the show is also powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. If you want to bet on the PGA Championship this weekend, they're in a cold freeze right now, but I'm sure they'll be coming out of that here in the next couple hours. NBA playoffs, college baseball too. Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge, full bar, Blake, and food. And awesome, leather chairs, 30 TVs, and it's great. Mom and M's is a whiskey craft beer bar right across from the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. And then, of course, DancingRabbitGolf.com. DancingRabbitGolf.com. Book your stay and play now and enjoy 48 hours of the sportsbook, poker, good food, and golf. All right, we're live in the BankPlus Studio. We want to welcome in a special guest. We talked about Scott Berry retiring from Southern Miss. He's had an unbelievable career there and several other stops. And they're on a roll this year. They turned it around 3 weeks ago and have they're on a heck of a winning streak, and we'll see what plays out in the postseason. But with Mississippi State and Ole Miss in the tank, Southern Miss has got to lead the way in the postseason. Scott Berry decided to retire, and we feel like Christian Ostrander will be named the head baseball coach either when they're done playing or in the next few days. But we want to welcome in Mason Irby, who played for Coach Berry and Ostrander, both junior college and Southern Miss. And he joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. He lives here now. Mason Irby, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good morning. Doing good. Appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah. All right, so Southern Miss, you played in 2017 and 18?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. So 17 was the year that we hosted a regional. It was us, State, South Alabama, Illinois, Chicago. And then my senior year, we went to the regional in Arkansas. That was the year that they lost the final on that drop.
When they dropped it?
Ball. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
That was the best lineup I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were loaded.
Yeah, they were full of MLB guys.
Man, I bet Baum Stadium, was that a rough environment?
Yeah, it was, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only time I played in front of, it was probably 11, 12,000 people.
Yeah.
Every time they scored a run, they scored a lot of them. It was the, woo, pigs away.
Yeah.
Every time it was fun.
All right, what position did you play?
I played right field.
Okay. And Casey Myrick gave me your name and number.
Yeah.
When I texted him a couple of days ago, I was looking for somebody who played for Coach Berry.
Yeah.
And maybe that lived here and could come in studio, which I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
And so who was a better hitter, you or Casey?
Oh, Casey.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, I didn't hit for power.
Okay.
Casey hit for some power, and then he played after Delta State.
Yeah.
Played a little professional ball.
He could rake.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, enough of feeding his ego. Back to you. Which year was your best year, 17 or 18?
17, and I'd say it was kind of due to, not that we had a bad team in 18 at all, but in 17 I hit in the 2-hole, and Dylan Bordeaux was a draft pick, hit leadoff.
I remember him.
Taylor Braley was a draft pick, hit in the 3-hole, and then Matt Wallner.
I remember him.
Yeah, he hit in the 4-hole.
Okay.
So I got a lot of good pitches to hit.
I got you.
I'll attribute it to
Makes
that.
all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
100%.
Especially if you compound it over 56 games, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that your first year from JUCO?
Yeah, I played 2 years of junior college.
Okay. And so you played in JUCO 15 and 16
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
Christian Ostrander.
So it was for Coach Oz in 15. He left at Thanksgiving of the next year to take the pitching coach job at Louisiana Tech.
Ah. Okay.
And so, yeah, he brought that team together, and it was kind of funny. We ended up winning the national championship that year in 16 after he
Damn.
left. And he's the one that, put that team together.
Okay.
But it was off of that team. We had 5 of us ended up going to play at Southern Miss. 6 guys went to play at Louisiana Tech.
Smart. It sounds like smart recruiting to me from Coach Barry and Coach Oz.
Yeah. They great.
Was there some
talent
battles there?
evaluators.
Were there some battles between La Tech and Southern Miss? It's the ties.
Yeah, so
Barry's in your backyard, and Oz had ties to the program.
Yeah, there was. So when Burroughs is still at Tech,
Sure.
but Oz went to coach for Burroughs, and Burroughs and Coach Barry are like the best of friends. But then Coach Barry gets Oz back to Southern, and there was kind of all this. I don't know that there was ever any bad blood. I mean,
Sure.
knowing Coach Barry and Coach Burroughs, there probably wasn't.
Right.
But it was always kind of that, like,
How about
I'm sure
that?
Burroughs is kind of ticked off a little bit. They steals this guy back. But it obviously has been the right move, to say the least.
Worked out.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. All right. So you start in right field.
Yeah.
For 2 years
Mhm.
after Jones Junior College winning the national championship.
That's right.
And Oz had put that team together, but then he goes to join Lane Burroughs
Mhm.
at La Tech, who
Yeah.
Lane had been under Cohen for several years before grabbing that job.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Blake, are you listening to all this?
Well,
I mean, you
yes,
got Cohen, you got
100%.
Burroughs, you got Oz, you got Scott Barry. This is
baseball.
fantastic.
Well, this is college baseball at its finest. That everybody's friends and knows each other.
It's
yeah,
and
It is.
successful.
correct. Yeah,
And Burroughs had a little stint at Southern as well.
I did not know
So
that.
they were all, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That was whenever Corky was there, I believe.
Right. Okay. All right. So, was Scott Barry, talk about, I mean, he's pretty demanding, right?
Oh, yeah.
Would you consider him a hard ass? I mean,
I
where's
don't,
that?
I don't know that I would.
That helmet.
Yeah, and
And he always looks mad.
You're-
I know him. I mean, I've had a beer with him. He's a super dude.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm talking about when he's coaching 20-year-olds, so he's got to get right. What's that approach?
Right. I heard that he had mellowed out a decent bit by the time that I got there.
Okay.
Because I know some guys that played for him at Meridian back in the day.
Oh, Josh Raggio. He talked about them practicing at 12:30 at night.
Yeah. I mean, there were some stories about, coach coming over to the dorms and finding, these guys are 18, 19 in junior college and, finding some alcohol in the dorms. And
Nobody drinks beer in college.
yeah. And he said, in the middle of their beer drinking, he's like, come on, we're going to the track. And you can go over there and run them. But no, there was nothing. He ran that program, still runs it like it's professional baseball.
Got it.
And it's, it's expected of you. And I say he's a great talent evaluator. He's a great evaluator of personalities, I would say, because he brings guys in that understand that.
Right.
And so, no, I mean, I can probably count on one hand the amount of just tail chewings that he gave us.
Right.
Because it never.
So he picks his moments.
He
It's not
picks his
all the time,
spots.
because that's not going to resonate.
Right.
Okay.
He picked the spots, but when he did it, I mean, when he lit into you, it was.
You knew then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember what year it was, but we got beat by Ole Miss bad at Trustmark.
Ooh.
And he got into us pretty good, and I think we won like 13 straight after that.
Which he just
So-
did right now.
Yeah, just did it again, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if there was a talk that spurred that on, but
Right.
but yeah, he can do it when he needs to.
Okay. We're visiting with Mason Irby. He played for Southern Miss in 17 and 18 under Coach Scott Barry, who will be retiring at the end of the season. Southern Miss is having an awesome season again, and we'll see what happens in the postseason. Was Coach Oz there your second year?
My senior year, yep, he was.
Okay.
hmm
All right. And so he is the pitching coach. So you're a fielder. You're an everyday player.
hmm
But what makes him? What makes him so special as a coach?
Yeah. So actually, I was a catcher in junior college.
Ah,
So
you
I
worked.
was with him a lot.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing, because I've asked him this before, right? And other people have asked him, and he can't put his finger on exactly what it is that makes him such a great pitching coach. It's not some, philosophy or some particular mechanical thing. He just demands, like you said of Coach Berry, he demands the best.
Okay.
And you're not afraid of him,
right?
But you kind of are a little bit,
right?
It's more one of those things where it's like,
who's more intense, Berry, or while you were at Southern Miss, your senior year, who was more intense, Scott Berry or Christian Ostrander?
I would say that Oz is more intense.
Okay.
But granted, I didn't know Berry back,
right,
20 years ago
right.
either.
But he's evidently a heck of a communicator too.
He is.
So he can keep you on the edge. But I think the best coaches, convey and communicate what they want.
Mm-hmm. That's
right.
That's right.
You played at a much higher level than I did.
No, that's 100% accurate. It's a healthy fear.
Right.
Is kind of how I say it. It's you. You're not afraid of them, like they're gonna, they're not gonna beat you up or something. But you don't want to let them down. You respect them too much.
Sure.
You don't want to let them down. You want to give them the best that you've got. Mm-hmm. And that's what Oz demands out of his pitchers, and that's why they've been one of the best pitching staffs in the country the past few years.
Yeah, they have. We're visiting with Mason Irby, former Southern Miss baseball player. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Did y'all ever give Coach Berry a hard time about wearing the hard hat? The helmet?
Not really.
Yeah, stayed away from that.
Yeah, it was another one of those things you kind of pick your battles. You didn't. When I saw him at a Southern Miss football game, and he's obviously just in a golf shirt hanging out, I was like, where's the helmet? He started laughing. Oh yeah.
All right. So did he wear it in practice?
No, he didn't wear it in practice.
Okay. Just in the games.
Yeah.
And I guess because why take it off when you have to go back out to third base?
Right. Yeah. So he just kept it on.
All right.
I guess hey, whatever, if it's comfortable.
Sure. He got thrown out. Blake, do you remember which game?
Yeah,
there was a regional game.
I remember it.
2017.
Okay, you tell me.
Yeah.
He got thrown out in 2017 in the regional.
Yeah.
Southern Miss versus Mississippi State.
Yeah.
At the Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That tell you the exact situation. It was the bottom of the 8th. We were down 7-6.
Okay.
Had the tying run on third with 2 outs. Guy hits a ball deep 6 hole. And this is, think back on it and how many things have changed since then. It's been 6 years. But if we've got a replay, that's a tie ball game going to the 9th.
Right.
Because it was a justified ejection. He was, safe by a foot.
Right.
But he hightails it out there. And I saw a picture of it recently, actually, where one umpire's holding him back. And you never saw him get that. But he tore his hamstring on the way out there.
That is awesome. No, that's incredible that you just shared that with us.
Wow. He did. And it was funny because he was suspended for the next 2 games, which we lost. So it was the next year. And we won both those 2 games.
Right.
And so, we were messing with him about, hey, you don't have to come out for this game, for the 3rd game. You can just, stay in the locker room.
He tore his hamstring running out to the umpire on that play where he was.
It's incredible.
Tossed Southern Miss, Mississippi State Regional.
Yeah.
To me, he's even more of a legend.
It's next level.
After hearing that.
And you didn't see that out of him often.
Right.
When he, I can't remember if it was one of the games at Trustmark recently, and that was a foul ball, blown call.
Right.
And he, lit into that third base umpire. But you didn't see that, and the umpires knew that if he was doing this,
it was legit.
He's either right or he 100% believes he's right.
Okay.
And so he had a longer leash, I would say, than a lot of coaches do.
Okay. Did Ostrander was he the head coach for those 2 games that y'all won? Or was there another assistant?
Kai was.
Okay.
That was when Kai was still there.
Okay. Maybe seniority or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was
his first year.
That was Oz's first game.
Got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. I know we don't know for sure, but we feel confident that your next baseball coach will be Christian Ostrander.
Yeah,
If that happens, are you excited about that?
very excited.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't have any,
Well,
insider knowledge.
Blake,
into
will
this
you
or
call
whatever,
Jeremy
but-
McLean
I
and
got
see
it.
if he'll
You're
confirm
right
on
now.
the air while Mason's with us?
But no, I would be super excited. First, knowing him personally,
Yeah.
and being around him at practice and stuff, I would be very, very excited. And I know that everybody that's a Southern Miss fan should be excited as well because
Sure.
of that. I mean, pitchers now at this point are going to Southern to be coached by the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Um,
LSU wanted him as a pitching coach. I think Mississippi State was scratching around. There were other teams.
Yeah,
That says all you need to know about Oz.
yeah,
And he played at Delta State.
yeah.
And then, of course,
He's a JUCO guy too. He
Really?
he played at Delta Community College before Delta State.
I didn't know he went to Mississippi Delta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you went to Jones Junior College, won a national championship there, and then Southern Miss 2 years. Now, where'd you grow up?
In Meridian, just
Okay.
outside of Meridian, Southeast Lauderdale High School.
Were y'all good in high school?
We had some good teams. we won state my sophomore year.
Nice. Were you
Um,
starting then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Outfield.
Was that your first year to start in high school?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. We went to South State my freshman year. I didn't play.
Mhm.
Won state my sophomore year.
Did you know you were going to win the starting job your sophomore year?
No, I didn't. I played. You wouldn't tell looking at me now, but I played basketball leading up to
Okay.
and quit. I quit because my freshman year I didn't get to spring practice until the week of the jamboree.
Ah, that makes
And-
sense.
I knew I had a chance to win the job, and I was like, but if I'm going to win it, I'm going to have to be here all fall.
Mm-hmm.
And in hindsight, it was probably a good decision. Basketball wasn't taking me very far.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it worked out for you playing at Southern Miss. Mason Irby on the Out of Bounds show. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Who was your baseball coach at Southeast Lauderdale?
Shea Cooper, he's still there.
Okay.
He's been there, I don't know, probably since 2007, 2008,
All right.
something like that.
And so y'all won, what'd you say, South State or State?
State,
In
my
your 10th grade year?
sophomore year, yeah.
Okay. Did y'all play it here?
We played at Smith Wills.
Smith Wills before going to the M Braves ballpark.
Yeah.
I think it is now, Blake. I think they moved it in the
Yeah.
last few years to the Mississippi Braves. I bet that was cool.
Yeah, well, it was at Trustmark a couple of years before.
Okay.
And then there was I can't remember if it was Conference USA.
Oh, they landed the Conference USA tournament.
Yes. And so they had that during state championship.
Yeah.
And so we were all excited about going to play at Trustmark.
Yeah.
And then we get stuck at Smith Wills.
Right.
It's a little bit different.
Sure.
Just a little
No,
bit
I get
different.
it. I
Yeah.
get it. Did y'all dogpile when you
No,
won it?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd you beat? Do you remember?
Kossuth,
Okay.
northeast Mississippi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mason Irby on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 1059 The Zone. So, do you ever get down to a game?
I do. I'm actually planning on getting back down there tomorrow night because
Oh,
they're
good.
they're honoring Coach Berry before the game.
Night. Boy, it'll be a bunch of y'all then.
Yeah, it ought to be packed, and it's Louisiana. And we
Oh, it's Tech?
No, UL.
Oh, ULL,
Yeah.
who's got a heck of a team. I mean, over the years,
Yeah.
they've been the Raging Cajuns have been really good.
Yeah.
Blake, will you look up what year Scott Berry took over for Corky? Mason may know it off the top of his head, but I need to know the year that Scott Berry took over for Corky Palmer.
I'm going to guess 2010
Okay.
was his first year.
That's correct.
Wow.
He
Good
has
job.
Corky-
500 wins, by the way.
yeah.
Just at
Over 500 wins as a head coach at Southern. Yeah.
right, and then he was
Yeah.
a head coach at Jones. I mean, his total wins are
He's 150. He's 180. He was 185 and 58 in junior college.
that's
He's-
pretty good.
And I don't think this includes this season because it's Wikipedia, so it's not quite as up to date. But he's 500, 265 and 1 in college.
Good grief.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, I think I don't even know if he's in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame, but he will be.
He will be.
Oh,
And so that's
sure.
that's a shoe in. And then I think he'll probably hang around Southern Miss and Hattiesburg in some kind of fundraising capacity or something to help the school. Mason Irby on the Out of Bounds show started in right field did you start in right field both years?
I did.
Started in right field in 2017 and 2018. And prior to that was at Jones Junior College. They won the national. You've done a lot of winning now that I just thought about that. So 10th grade, you win you're pretty fortunate. Not everybody does that. So your 10th grade year, you win a state championship at Southeast Lauderdale. Your sophomore year at Jones, y'all win the national championship. Who'd y'all beat for that?
In the final game, it was a team out of Arizona, Mesa, maybe.
Okay. They play ball out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where did y'all? Do you remember where you were to win? Where the championship?
Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay.
It's the craziest tournament format I think I've ever seen. There's like 12 teams that go, and so it's an odd number. And what ended up happening, to make a long story short, we played through the losers bracket the whole way. The Gilbert, Arizona is who we played.
Okay.
We had to play them. They're undefeated already in the championship, but we had to play them just as a formality. So they could have beat us and put us out, but we couldn't have put them out. So we had to beat them. Then they're waiting on us in the championship game, and we have to beat somebody else to get back to them again. And it was we were there for probably 2.5 weeks.
I thought I was in Omaha a long time. 6 nights got real weird for me.
Yeah.
Because when you're out in the middle of that area, I know it's wonderful people, but it gets kind of kooky.
Yeah.
And for me, and I was only there 6 nights. Sounds like you were there for about 16 nights.
Yeah. Well, and Enid's not quite as fun of a town as Omaha. So.
Oh man, no doubt. So then you win the national championship at Jones Junior College. Were you playing catcher then or outfield?
That was an outfield then.
Okay. And then you go to Southern Miss, and both years you go to postseason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that you've had a chance to look, how old are you now?
27.
Now that you get a chance to look back, you won in high school, junior college, and college. You feel pretty fortunate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say I feel lucky to have played with as many great players as I've played with.
Yeah.
I mean, the draft picks that we had at Southern and, all of those guys that I got the chance to play with, that's why you want to go play somewhere like that. Get pushed by guys like that. So
Mason Irby on the Out of Bounds show. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
For playing at Southern Miss and all the success. I hope you and your friends and former players have a great time tomorrow night recognizing Coach Barry. That'll be a blast at Pete Taylor. And hope to see you again soon. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
And
appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and we hope that you tell all your relatives that you were on the show so that they'll go and listen to it on the podcast or YouTube.
There you go. I sure will.
Great to see you, buddy. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're with Edward Jones?
That's right.
Congratulations on your success.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. Mason Irby
appreciate it.
played 2 years at Southern Miss, 2 years at Jones Junior College, and started 3 years at Southeast Lauderdale. Won the whole way through, played for Christian Ostrander and the legendary Scott Barry, who they will recognize tomorrow night as they march into the postseason. Thank you for listening to the show. If you missed anything, please go to Apple Podcast or Spotify and search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. You can go back and watch this interview on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Don't forget, lunch today is brought to you by Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue. Mudbugs opens later, and we will see you tomorrow